Hi, I'm Haley and welcome back to my channel. If you love eyeshadow palettes, this one is for you because I have a huge stack of palettes that I've been trying over the course of the last few months, and today I'm going to do a ranking video. So these are the last 10 palettes I've tried. I've seen a couple other channels that I follow do this kind of video, and it's a format that I really enjoy. I think it's fun to pit some of the recent releases up against each other. I've seen Linda from Glitter Fallout do this, as well as Caitlin Costello, two creators I really enjoy. So I thought I would give this a try. I have a mix of some different brands here, mostly indie brands, some more affordable like Colourpop, some more expensive like Melt and Ensley Rain, things like that. Some of these palettes are from brands where it is the very first time I've ever tried something from the brand, so that's a little fun. Some I really did not like, and a couple I really love. So if you like eyeshadow palette content and want to know my thoughts on the last 10 eyeshadow palettes I've tried, stick around and keep watching. Okay, so I'm going to start from lowest ranked to highest ranked. So it's gonna get kind of brutal and then get a little more fun and exciting towards the end of the video. But if you like, I don't know, the tea, or if you want to hear me absolutely tear apart a palette, you know, let's just get on started with the lowest palette in my ranking. And if you saw my most recent trying new makeup video, you'll know what palette I'm talking about, and that is the By Us Garden Busters palette. Okay, so this is a new brand. It is from the creators of Odin's Eye. It's supposed to be a more fun, colorful take on what they do, which is eyeshadow. And I thought this was super cute. I really like the packaging. I think it's fun. I think it's very youthful. And I also really like the color story. I like colorful palettes with a twist. So that's what this is right here. The bottom shade, Onion right here, where I've broken, but I was able to get a swatch out and as well as try this when I originally tested it. But you know, this just did not do it for me. I really like the theming. So it is all garden themed. All the shades have different fruit and vegetable themed names, which I think is really fun. So we have like pear, blueberry, tomato juice, carrot cake, things like that. And I also really like how a lot of the shimmers really pair well with a matte in the palette. So right here we have carrot cake, and then we have tomato juice, and that you could see how they would kind of pair well together. So I was really excited about that. The funky pan shape didn't really bother me. I know that is a turnoff for a lot of people, but for me, I thought it was fine. But my issue is really with the formula. So I didn't like the matte formula, and I also did not like the shimmer formula. Basically, the shimmers are that kind of ultra squishy formula that can look really textured on the eye. I feel like it made my eyelids look really flaky, not in a fun, artistic way, in a like I have a skin condition way. And I really didn't like it. It just wasn't like the ultra impactful shimmery look on the eye, which I really love, like super reflective shadows. And while I feel like they looked really pretty in the swatches, I just felt like, I don't know, they didn't work for me, and the mattes are super patchy. So I didn't feel like they blended out well. They weren't very buttery. They just went on very unevenly, and I did not like that. I just felt like overall, I thought this was super fun. I like the embossing, I like the theming, I like the color story, I like how fun and kind of out there it is, especially for a first palette from a brand. But this just didn't do it for me, and it's really all because of the formula. I just don't really like this sort of squishy and ultra flaky formula that they have here. Odin's Eye uses this for some of their shimmers, and I do not like those shimmers at all. So maybe that's on me for going with a palette from the same brand, but the mattes are also not very good. I felt like the Odin's Eye mattes were better than these mattes here. A lot of these just don't have a lot of payoff. They're patchy, they're hard to build up. I didn't have a good experience with this palette, and that is why this is ranked the bottom of the list. Phew. I almost just had a disaster with the remaining pile of palettes because it's a little precarious and the top half of the pile just fall into the floor. So I just had to make sure they weren't broken, which would have been so sad. But we're gonna move on to our next palette in the ranking, and that is this spicy palette from Sigma. So this has been out for quite a while, but I'm still including it in this ranking because these are not like most recent palettes, more just most recent palettes to me. But I received this one as a gift with purchase when I bought some brushes from Sigma in the last couple of months, and I thought it'd be fun to try because I actually have not tried Sigma's eyeshadow formula before, and I know that they have reworked this palette and kind of re-released a different version of it, and that I think is smaller. I think it's maybe quad or something like that, but I thought this would be fun to try. I just really didn't love it. It's not really my vibe. I do really like neutrals, but these are a little cooler than I like, and I just really didn't like the shimmers. And I feel like for me, the shimmers can absolutely make or break a palette. I just love shimmers. I love ultra reflective shadows, and this just did not have that vibe for me. The mattes are nice, but they lean a little dark for my skin tone, so I can't really rely on this just to do an all matte look because even the lightest matte is still pretty dark for me. And this shade Biscotti right here is not actually a true matte, it is a little more of a satin. So it's hard for me to reach for this even if I want to do just some like a very basic brown matte look. I did really like this shade Moonshine right here. This is really reflective and very pretty. You'll see it in the swatches, but there's only two other like true shimmers in this palette, which is not enough for me for a 9-pan palette. I just feel like 1/3 shimmers is not enough, especially when these two just show up very dark on the eye, so they're not super reflective. And as someone with like my skin tone, ultra dark shimmers I feel like kind of don't give the look I'm looking for because I need things that are brighter and more reflective to like open up the eye a little bit, and ultra dark shimmers kind of just cause my eyes to like recess, and it just, I don't know, it just doesn't pop. It's not my preference. So these ones are pretty dark. They show up kind of darker than they look in here, and this one was very hard to use. Actually, I had to, you can see right here, I had to dig my brush in to just use it. So I feel like because of the shimmers and a little bit the color story, this is just not for me ultimately. I think the mattes are really nice. I will say I think this probably has been sitting around in their warehouse for a while, and that's why they're giving it away as a gift with purchase. So I would not base, you know, all future Sigma palettes off of this one. I would definitely be open to trying more of their eyeshadows. Just this one is not for me, but for a gift with purchase, it was pretty generous and it was nice to try. Next up, we have a bunch of Colourpop palettes. So we have 3 that are the next 3 in this ranking. And then we have, I believe, 2 more later down on the list. But to start, I'm gonna talk about one of their newer releases, which is the Stranger Things palette. So I'm not a huge Stranger Things fan. I watched it a little bit when it first came out, but I'm not, you know, this isn't like my franchise that I go wild for. If it is yours, I totally love that for you because I think this is a really cool release, but I just didn't love the palette as a palette. I think maybe if I loved Stranger Things, then I might be more attached to this, but just as a palette, it's not my favorite. I do really like the color story, which is why I bought it. I really like these blues. I love blue eyeshadow. And I also like the reds, green, all of that. But my issue with this is really not very much of a shimmer palette. A lot of these are satins. You'll be able to see it in the swatches that I insert, but apart from, like, for example, this Hungry for Blood shade, which is absolutely gorgeous, most of these are very satin and not all that reflective. And like I was saying, I love ultra light reflective shadows, and that's just like what I go wild for. And there's not that many of these in here. This Hungry for Blood shade though, this is so pretty, and I really loved the look I made based around this shade, and you can really easily do a full blue look with the shadows in here. It's also just like a very dark palette in general, so if you love pretty impactful dark mattes, I think this might be more for you. But yeah, a lot of these shades, like this red right here, Alien Vines, Gone Missing, these are all just kind of satin shades, which I don't love. And I'm so obsessed with this kind of terracotta brown color, ultra warm brown, but just because it's not very reflective, I don't know, it's just not super for me. But I'm really glad I tried this. As always, I do really like Colourpop for how affordable it is and fun, and I like collabs like this. I just think it's fun. I know some people are like, who asked for this, like blah blah blah, but I don't know, I like these. I think they're fun. I will definitely buy more, you know, collab palettes from Colourpop because I enjoy them, and sometimes they have absolute standout shades. I'll talk some more about Colourpop in the upcoming entries in the list, but yeah, of the Colourpop palettes that I've tried recently, the Stranger Things is just the lowest on the list, mostly just for personal preference, because like I said, I just feel like these are mostly satins and they're also quite dark, and that combination is just not my fave. And then, like I said, the next two palettes are also from Colourpop. These ones are mostly tied. I like them both more than the Stranger Things one, but they're still a little bit lower than some of the other palettes in this ranking. The first one is the Rock On palette. I actually really like this. This is just my color, you know, like everybody has like their color that they know they gravitate towards no matter what, like clothes, anything that's like this sort of really warm, you know, this vibe. This is so me. So I had to pick it up, and I do really like this color story. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, but you can really only kind of do like one kind of look. And it leans like on the darker end, as you can see right here. There's nothing like super light, apart from these two shades right here that are more like inner corner shades. So you can really only kind of do like one kind of look, and I feel like that's like the downfall of this palette. I do really like it. I think this is a really nice formula. So this Chasing Sunset shade has a really, really great formula that Colourpop has in some of these other palettes as well. It's kind of like their special formula. A lot of times it'll only be like one shade in a whole palette that has this formula. This one is it. It's super pretty. I do really like this. I think it's a nice size for travel, but again, it's really just a one look kind of palette. But I'm happy to have it. This is super affordable. I think this is like $14. And I think this will be great for, you know, taking with me on vacation and things like that. But again, yeah, it's kind of limited, but I do enjoy it. Next up is another Colourpop palette, like I mentioned, and that is the Colourpop Sailor Moon. Oh my gosh, I'm so obsessed with this Pretty Guardian palette. This is so freaking cute. I love Sailor Moon. I always have. And I think this palette is really fun. I was really enjoying this more in like the spring and early summer because this is just so pretty. It's just a really pretty summery, springy color story. Again, it's a little bit limited. Just like how the Rock On palette is limited, this is limited in a different way because there's just no deepening up shades. Like you can't do a very dark look. It's kind of like for people who just like a really pretty light wash of color and people who like Sailor Moon. So I do really like this kind of like as a companion palette. I've worn it a lot with other palettes. You can see I have a dent in this sort of super shock-ish shade right here and in some of the other colors, but I think this is really pretty. I think I've made so many pretty looks with this, but yeah, it's not really a standalone palette for me because I just need more variety of depth. I think that's kind of what I'm hammering home with some of these, like they're either too dark or too light, and for me the sweet spot is palettes that have it all. Like they have like, they can go there, they can go light, they can go dark, all of that. And I think when the palettes don't have that, that's sort of when I find it to be, you know, not an all over perfect palette for me. But I do really like this. I think the tones and the shades are so pretty. The shimmers are really pretty. Really enjoyed this one when I was using it more earlier this year, and I will be super excited to pull this one back out for kind of like that season in between like Valentine's Day and the beginning of summer. I feel like that's where this one kind of has its place, and I just love Sailor Moon also. Okay, next up I have a quad. This is the only quad that I have here, but I thought I'd include it since it is technically a palette, and this is from Melt. This is their new Creature from the Black Lagoon palette. And I freaking love this. It's only as low on the list of like the ranking as it is because, you know, again, it's kind of limiting. There's not that much you can do with it. You can pretty much only do one look, but that is the nature of most quads. I freaking love green eyeshadow, and as somebody who loves green eyeshadow, I just like had to buy this. This was so freaking expensive, by the way. This was like 50 something when you factor in shipping and all of that, but this is so nice. I actually had never tried Melt before, and ooh, I get why people like this brand. The shades, the shadows are just so freaking buttery. So this is mostly a matte palette, and this shade right here, which is the most reflective, is still basically just a satin. So you have 3 mattes right here and then 1 satin. Oh, but these are most like the butteriest like mattes that I've ever used. They're so well done. Great quality, just a really nice formula from Melt on this one, and I really love it. I really love the look that I made with this. I just love green, and if you love like this kind of Kelly green like I do, as well as this kind of like brat green, oh, these are my two favorite kinds of green. So, you know, if this is for you, it's for you, but if it's not, it's not. But I really enjoy this. Again, it's kind of just like you can do one look with it, but the quality of these mattes is just really incredible. And I feel like it's hard. It's hard to create a good matte, and I feel like the quality can obviously make it or break a palette, and great quality on this one. Okay, and then next up we have another palette that is also from a brand that I had never tried before picking this palette up. And this is the Cosmic Beauty Undergrowth palette. So this one, I feel like I really fell for influencer hype because everybody was talking about this palette and this brand, and they did a few more palettes recently before this one, the Neutrals and the Cool Trolls, and they are already fully sold out. So I felt like I had to hop on this train if I was going to. And I've said before, and I just said it, I freaking love green, and I love green eyeshadow. So this seemed like a natural pick for me, but you know, using this, most of the shimmers are not actually green. A lot of them are brown or like have a golden flip, and I just was like, oh, I would love this even more if there was like a true Kelly green, or like I was saying, a brat green. Those are some of my favorite green colors. I have liked this so far. I'm still playing around with it. I really like the quality of the shimmers. They're like fudgy in a way that is really fun to play with. The mattes are not as good, in my opinion. I just felt like the mattes kind of caught on the skin a little bit. I wouldn't say they're bad, but I just didn't feel like when compared to something like this, they weren't on this level, right? But this is a nice palette. I felt like it was priced decently. Like these were about the same price, I think, but like you get so much more with this one from Cosmic Beauty. I'm still kind of, you know, developing my thoughts on this one. It is pretty high up on the list. And I do enjoy it. I think it's gonna be one that I'm gonna fall in love with more over time, but I'm still kind of working out like how best to use it because it's a big palette. Sometimes I feel like a little bit overwhelmed with bigger palettes, but so far I like it. Like I was saying, I really like the shimmer formula. I would have liked if there was like a Kelly green, like a shimmer in this color. Oh my God, that would be like incredible. I also love shimmers in this color. I have a few others in other palettes, but I'm like a little gremlin. Like I always need more. So I feel like basically, the mattes are, the colors of the mattes are like what I love. The formula of the mattes isn't what I love. The formula of the shimmers is what I love, but the color selection of the shimmers isn't what I love. But still have this quite high on the list because I think it's really beautiful. Just like the color story is gorgeous. And like I said, I really like that shimmer formula. Still kind of playing around with this one, but we'll see how we go as time goes on. But it's as high as it is on the list, just on vibes, honestly, on vibes, and then doesn't have some of the limitations that like some of the other lower ranked ones have. I don't know why I'm justifying this so much, but yeah, we had the Undergrowth palette. Okay, next up we have 2 more Colourpop palettes, and then we have our #1 ranking, which I am so freaking obsessed with. But next up we have the Colourpop Welcome Foolish Mortals palette. This is the Haunted Mansion palette that was re-released this year. I freaking love the design on this. I love the Haunted Mansion ride. I feel like I have to specify it because this is definitely based on the ride. And this is so freaking cute, you guys. If you like Haunted Mansion and if you like purple, you will like this. It's funny, I picked this up at the same time as the Stranger Things palette, and I thought I was gonna like the Stranger Things palette more, but I freaking love this one. I'm not even that into purple eyeshadow, but oh my God, this shade, you guys, Psychic Medium, oh, this is so pretty. This is like my dream shade. It's like super reflective, the perfect tone for me, very wearable for a purple, just really, really pretty. I feel like I'm basing this, like the height of this one and the next palette just off of like a couple shades, but when Colourpop kills it with the special shades that they do, they kill it, you know? And I feel like for the price, oh, this is so good and yummy. And I just like think this is a fun palette and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's pretty and I can see like myself getting somewhere out of this in the spring also. Like I feel like purple can be a fun spring shade too. So I just feel like, again, like This is a winner because of the the range of tones. So we have some really light shades up here, we have some really dark shades here, and we have some really nice middle shades also. So I just feel like it's a well done palette. If you like purple and you like the Haunted Mansion, I really think this one would be for you. And then next up we have our last Colourpop palette in this pile of palettes, and that is the Golden Hour palette. Oh my gosh, I didn't think I was gonna love this one, but it's just so dang useful. I already have a huge pan on this shade right here, Golden Waves, but this is just so easy to reach for. Like, this is just like all you need really if you want a neutral brown palette. I really wanted the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette. I don't know, there's been a few Natasha Denona neutral palettes that have come out, and I just feel like I don't really need those when I have this, you know? Like, I just feel like this is really working well for me, so I don't need to drop Natasha Denona money. And I just feel like this is so useful. Like, I'm in so many situations where I really just need to do a simple brown eyeshadow look, and this is the palette I reached for. It's just easy to use. It was super affordable. Like I said, some of these shadows are that super reflective, impactful, like, oh, it's so delicious. Great formula on the shimmers in here. And there is a mix, you know, there's a couple more, these sequin shades. I don't really go for those, but you know, there are in here, and some more satiny shades, and then a nice, really nice inner corner shade right here. So yeah, great range of tones. Really works for me when I'm just like, I need to do a simple look for, like, you know, appropriate makeup situations that we all are in sometimes. So really love this. I've gotten so much use out of it, and I know I will continue to. It is just an easy reach, and that is why it's number 2 on this ranking. Okay, and then drumroll please, the number 1 ranked palette in this ranking of palettes is the Ensley Rain Underland palette. Oh my god, you guys, I am so freaking obsessed with this. I've been kind of having my eye on Ensley Rain for a while. This is the first palette that I've tried from them. They're very expensive, they're spendy, so I was kind of biding my time, like watching the releases, seeing if there was one that really caught my eye, and oh my god, this is the one, you guys. This won't be my last palette from Ensley Rain. Like, this is so freaking gorgeous. I freaking love this color story, and the formula is so beautiful. These shades are so easy to use. The mattes are buttery, they blend. The shimmers, oh my god, are out of this world. You'll see in the swatches, or if you've watched any other videos about this palette, oh my god, this is just so gorgeous. Easy to work with, easy to wear, and the tones are gorgeous. This is what I was talking about. Like, I love a you know, brat green eyeshadow. I freaking love this. I love this kind of denim blue. There's just so many looks in here that I love, and I feel like it's really easy to wear and use. So for me, I'm like intimidated by these kinds of shades, but I did a look with these two because they're paired together, and it really makes it easy to do a look with some of these more challenging shades, like the Wicked Rose and the Wet Red Queen right here. Oh my gosh, they pair beautifully. You can just do a little bit of the matte in the crease, the outer corner, and then top it off with a shimmer. So beautiful. I've been loving pairing these, you know, some of the shades in here together. So for example, really have loved Cheshire's Curse with Wicked Wildflowers on the lid. Oh my god, that is such a pretty, easy to wear and approachable shimmer purple look. Love that. And then also really love Dreadful Dreams and Shatter Looking Glass together. So these two, just a really gorgeous. Obviously, I love these. Oh, you guys, I am freaking obsessed with this palette. Just a really fun, easy to work with, easy to wear, really high quality eyeshadow palette. And I feel like of everything that I've talked about, the quality on this is just insane. So good. I feel like I love all of the shades, all of the tones. I'm gonna get so much use on this. If you love this kind of like goth rainbow look, oh, this is a palette for you. I also really like the theme. I like Alice in Wonderland. I think this is a really cool take on Alice in Wonderland too. So really love this palette, super happy I picked it up, and super happy that it is #1 on this palette ranking. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you guys think of these palettes? Have you used any of them? Do you like this kind of ranking video? Because I'm gonna be honest, I really like doing this kind of ranking video. I'm thinking about doing them for perfume as well. Oops, I did just drop another palette and I think it broke. So I gotta go figure out what's going on down there, but thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, if you like this kind of content, I hope you'll stick around and subscribe. Bye.